what is the European Union reaction to the somewhat recantation, shall we say, or refutation, or I don't know what word you would like to use, of Judge Goldstone for the report, the quite damaging report that came out about Israel after Operation Cast Lead?
Well, we've read with interest what Mr. Justice Goldstone has written recently. I think that the report still stands. What we have noticed in the comment written by Justice Goldstone is that if he had had access at the time of writing the report to all of the information which he now has, the report might have taken on a slightly different form. And I think that points, and he says so explicitly in his recent comment, that fuller access to information, including from the Israeli authorities, would have changed the nature of the report. And at the time, certainly the view of the European Union was that the Israeli authorities should have cooperated with the preparation of the Goldstone report in order to have full information on what happened in Gaza available to the panel that was conducting this inquiry. But still, from our point of view, the report still stands, and we urge all the parties involved in the Gaza cast lead to conduct full and thorough investigations in order to bring out what happened and in order for measures to be taken to correct any errors that were made and to ensure the full respect for human rights.
So is the European Union going to be demanding of Hamas the same kind of internal investigation that the IDF has been conducting?
That has always been the position, that all parties involved in the conflict should conduct impartial, fair investigations up to the highest international standards.
Mm-hmm. And should they refuse to comply, which they have, then?
Well, our position still remains that all parties should conduct this kind of full, impartial, and high-standard investigations.
Why does the European Union seem to insist on ignoring the will of the Israeli electorate in putting a Likud prime minister into the premiership in Israel, and seem to insist on the policies of the European Union being done here in Israel, even though Israel is a democracy? Maybe perhaps the people feel a little bit differently about what we want for our own peaceful resolution to this conflict.
I don't think there's any question of the European Union questioning the outcome of Israeli elections and the selection of the Israeli government. We engage in a very open and frank discussion with the Israeli authorities on a very wide range of subjects based on shared values and based on a relationship between the European Union and Israel that is extremely profound, diverse, and very dynamic, and fully respecting Israeli democracy.
How do you see the resolution to the conflict between Israel and the Palestinian Arabs?
Well, our positions are extremely well known and based on a two-state solution that allows both parties, the Israeli and the Palestinian sides, to fulfill their legitimate right to statehood and to live within peaceful and secure borders and to maintain stable relations with the neighboring countries.
And I think you made very clear to us that you're completely committed to the continued existence of Israel, and that is absolutely non-negotiable.
Absolutely. That is a fundamental element of our outlook on the whole conflict and its outcome.
In the aftermath of the massacre of the Fogel family in Itamar, a few days later the bombing in the Jerusalem Central Bus Station, does the European Union have a response to that? Does it decry that kind of terrorism?
Absolutely, and the European Union, within the context of the Quartet, issued a statement condemning very clearly the Itamar massacre, and then also there was a further statement following the bomb attack in Jerusalem, a statement by our High Representative, Lady Ashton, condemning all forms of terrorism and all attacks directed against civilians.
And is then there a commensurate understanding of the reticence that Israelis might have to take further risks when we are faced with this kind of behavior?
Well, we condemn all forms of terror, all forms of violence which stand in the way of a peaceful, negotiated settlement of the conflict.
Our soldier Gilad Shalit, who has been a prisoner in Gaza for many years, it's the eve of Passover, our festival of freedom. He has not even been allowed a Red Cross visit, any kind of contact with his family or with anyone. Is the European Union involved with that and with doing something?
Well, again, we have consistently condemned as completely inhumane and intolerable the continued detention of Gilad Shalit and the lack of access of any kind that he has had to his family or to any other person. And we've consistently called upon Hamas to rectify the situation. And certainly on the eve of Passover, we would certainly send our prayers for his release and for him to be able to rejoin his family as soon as possible.